Sensational Saturday, everyone. This is Pearly Almonte coming to you live from the D Word. Basically, we are a program from the Divorce Dynasty, and we could not be more thrilled to share with you another juicy edition of the D Word. You know, the D actually stands for divorce, deceit, despair, disability, sometimes death. And we basically lead people to dazzling destinies. Just like what I said earlier, also, the Divorce Dynasty is actually a group of vetted professionals totally committed to supporting your needs when it comes to different life transitions, such as divorce. And today, we have an awesome life-changing expert who's going to give you an insight on the secret life of a spy or a private investigator or a private eye, so to speak. Well. I would like to welcome to the show the owner of Archeo Private Investigations, Megan Novak. Woo!
Hello, everyone. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. I've been looking forward to this edition because I know that there will be a lot of people who are going to be very interested to know about PI, right? That's private investigation. But first, let's get to know Megan because here you are, so gorgeous, and I thought that you would be in like an art or beauty industry, and here you are in private investigations. So, talk to us. What led you? Give us a little bit of a background on what led you to this.
Okay. So after college, well, I had an internship being an investigator with the Public Defender Service of DC,
Okay,
um,
wait a minute. What did you study for?
criminal justice.
Oh, criminal justice.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Guess who just joined us?
Good morning.
The founder of the Divorce Dynasty, Carolina Denhart, is a family law, international law, and divorce attorney, of course. And of course, just like what I was saying, like Megan is joining us right now from Archeo Private Investigations. And Megan was just actually sharing with us a little background about herself and what led her to becoming a private investigator.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
fantastic. Well, Megan, let me just say hello to you first of all. I thought I had a Zoom with a media company in Poland. Apparently, they didn't change their clocks yet, so I'm an hour behind, which is fine. So I'm so happy to be able to chime in and join you today. One of the biggest issues that all of our clients ask, undoubtedly, 1 out of 2 consultations is: does infidelity matter? Do I need to hire a private investigator? What information can I get? What's legal? Can she go into the backyard and take her camera and zoom in on what's going on inside? Can I put a tracking device in somebody's car? And these are tough conversations because people are emotional about cheating and they want their pound of flesh. They want to know. But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily matter in New Jersey when it
right.
comes to divorce. So I'm sure that you have seen all of this and get
Absolutely. And I've
involved.
been
So
asked the
welcome
same
to the show.
questions too. So yeah.
Okay, answer your the background about Megan first, and then
Okay.
because I love what Carolina has addressed. So tell us about your background again, please.
Okay. So then right out of college, I was waiting tables and bartending, and I decided to actually put my degree to use and started applying for jobs. I wanted to be an attorney. I knew I didn't want to be in law enforcement. So I got my first private detective job, and I fell in love with it. My first case was an infidelity case. And I saw the 2 people making out on their front porch, and I was like, this is for me. This is my calling. So, and I'm not a 9 to 5 office person. I would lose my mind sitting in the office like that. Like, I need to be out. I need different things every day. And every day is different. Every case is different. Every client's different. And, I really love what I do. So,
Oh,
and being able to help people is obviously part of it as well.
you're
So
not
do you
you're not the typical private investigator that we're imagining, like Colombo and all that. So
It works to my, it works to my advantage, though. If I have to follow somebody into like a bar or a restaurant or something like that, anywhere, the mall, people aren't looking at me. They just think I'm just another person there. Not like the typical private investigator that looks like a retired police officer sitting at the bar, lurking at the subject. I blend in very well. And I make sure that my staff also blends in well too. Most of them don't have that law enforcement background. They are just straight up investigators, which I think helps to be able to blend in because you don't carry yourself a certain way.
You know, one of the things that I want to shift this interview today in an area of where investigators come in is when we have self-employed spouses going through a divorce, and especially during COVID, they take the position that there's no jobs. I'm not going to work. I'm not doing the contracting work. I'm not doing the excavating work. I'm not doing, there's no work. And then all of a sudden you have you following them around.
Right.
And in a matter of a week, we have 6 job sites. We have all of this information, which then leads to us to do further discovery and ultimately help our clients secure the alimony or child support they're risk of not getting because
Exactly.
somebody's misrepresenting. So it's not only in the context of infidelity, but it's also in the context of, are you able to work? Are you cohabiting with someone where potentially,
Right.
if I'm the payor spouse and there's a cohabitation clause in your agreement, which most of them have, and you're living with somebody, right? Well, then here you come in, Megan, and you're able to show that Johnny is sleeping over 5 nights a week.
Right.
And they're doing X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah, and cohabitation cases are one of my favorite ones because nobody's really suspicious. When you have an infidelity case, the client is a little, they're very emotional, and then the person that you're following is going to be slightly aware of, is somebody following me? They're a little bit more paranoid. With the cohabitation cases, it's very laxed, it's just easy surveillance. You get them out in public, you get them doing yard work, getting the mail, taking the garbage out, going to family events, that sort of thing. And I've been, my company's been very successful with the cohabitation cases. So,
So do you also do work that involves private investigative research on social media?
Yeah.
Sometimes people are very good at keeping the day-to-day confidential, but they're so silly and putting things on Facebook and Instagram and other social media platforms thinking that, we're not going to see this?
Right. Yeah. No, we definitely do that as well. And I think with that, it's, somebody posts a picture, you got to kind of look beyond, look in the background of the picture. You have to really pay attention to the details. Facebook and Instagram is, it's a great tool, a great modern tool for any investigator, even anybody that even suspects their spouse or partner to be cheating, because I've had a lot of cases where that leads to surveillance. The husband sees, this one case specifically, the husband saw messages on Facebook, then contacted me, and his wife said that she was coming to New Jersey to meet up with her college friends. Well, she didn't. She went to a hotel in Princeton, so it's from those DMs from social media, that, you reconnect with somebody from high school 20 plus years ago, so social media really is a huge investigative tool.
So Megan, do you also then, obviously you write a report if it goes that far, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm sure there's times that you've been asked to testify as to the report in the context of a case. So this isn't just about, calling a private investigator, getting some information, saying, aha, I knew it, and that's where it ends. You actually become a very critical and live part of a matrimonial case. Isn't that true?
Yes, and the reports that's a huge part of the investigation, making sure that everything is detailed and correct and basically like an unbiased report. You don't put your opinion in it, it's just facts. Because that they do rip you apart for your reports and any of the testifying or depositions or anything. That's your word, and you have to make sure that it's correct and precise and doesn't offer any opinions. You saw them together, out at the bar. That's a fact. They held hands, simple wording really makes the report a lot easier, especially when it comes to, depositions or testifying.
Sure.
Caroline, I have a question for you. Okay, when somebody consults with you because they're contemplating on getting a divorce because they're suspicious that their husbands are going, they're having an affair. Okay, do you tell them to hire a private investigator, or do you just tell them to confront their husbands and make them confess?
Oh no, I never say confront your husband and make them confess, because
I think a lot of times
that's going to lead to, what are you talking about? That's my friend. Forget it, right? The private investigator, in my mind, comes into play if we have a dissipation claim. So in New Jersey, we have irreconcilable differences. You could get divorced for not liking somebody's hair color. We no longer need to prove fault grounds in the state of New Jersey. So if the adultery and infidelity is going to lead me to say, has he been spending an exorbitant amount of money on an apartment, on travel, on gifts, on taking money out of the marital pot to support his relationship with this other person, then I'm going to say yes, because I'm going to want information while I get his credit card statements and bank statements. I'm going to want Megan to show me that it's still going on, where they're
Right.
going, while, he's incurring credit card debt for the marital household. He's spending $500-600 at the Four Seasons downtown in New York. What's
Right.
going on? Why are we encumbering debt for the family while you're pursuing this new relationship? So I am very careful when I say to call Megan or any other private investigator, because it's so emotionally driven. I always explain the reason. More so, I would use Megan in the cohabitation cases and in the cases where somebody claims that they can't work and therefore they can't
Right.
pay. So it's critical in those cases.
Absolutely.
Megan, do you find it easier to do your work right now because of the technology, or is it like, do you still do the old-fashioned way? Like,
I mean, technology helps, but it's still, surveillance is surveillance. You're still in the car, you're still following people. People do use telephone cameras, telephone pole cameras, outside cameras, that sort of thing. But there is nothing better than just straight up old school surveillance to really see what somebody's doing.
no,
And that would mean, Megan, that you're following them, correct?
Yeah, yep. So, we're following them all day long, 6 a.m. to 2, or, I mean, basically the day of a PI, you don't know, when it's starting, you have no idea when it's going to end, because you don't know what anybody's going to do that day. So, I've followed people to Hershey Park before, from Staten Island. It's just, you never know where you're going to end up.
And Furley, I'll tell you, there's nothing more heart palpitating than when Megan drops the envelope on the lawyer, and we now have to tell the client, and she opens up the envelope and there's so-and-so, saying that he was at work. And meanwhile, he's at a place where you're just going to just fall apart, right? Those are tough moments for our clients.
They definitely are. And, it is hard because, and I'm sure that too, it's like you kind of play psychiatrist or psychologist to your clients, because you have to help them through it. Like, I'm the person giving them that news that, on his lunch break, he went to a hotel. That's hard. That's hard. So you have to be emotionally supportive of your clients as well, and know that they are going through probably one of the hardest things that they'll ever encounter in their life.
Now, how does the result of a private investigation impact the ruling on a divorce? Carolina?
Well, again, if we're looking to show that somebody's been dissipating or wasting the marital estate and spending an exorbitant amount of money on this person, and we talked about a case I had in the past where, when the husband was flying the family all over the world, he was flying the girlfriend as well. So essentially paying for the family, airline tickets, hotels, dinners, and spending just as much on the girlfriend. So what we do is we then file an application to get a credit back for the wife, so she gets some of that money back. So half of what he was spending on the girlfriend is rightfully hers. And then it helps. Not only does she feel vindicated, but then she's getting the financial resources back so that she could go on with her life.
Right.
Most importantly, though, in these cases where somebody claims while we're divorcing that they can't work, right? We talked about this. They're self-employed and they're saying, well, COVID happened. What do you want me to do? I can't work. I know that I worked before, but now I have no jobs. Therefore, I'm sorry. And if we're able to prove that that's a lie, then not only do we have somebody on character issues, if we have to go to trial or to a hearing, and on cross-examination, we'll get them, but we show, listen, while we're striking the deal, look what we have here. You tell your soon-to-be ex-wife that you're home on the couch, going through all the jobs, calling everybody. Meanwhile, you were on 6 jobs this week.
Right.
So it helps in striking a deal, Furley, when you're trying to settle a case, because you got the person in that vulnerable moment where they've been caught lying.
Megan, question. Okay, so when people hire you, do they hire you on a retainer, per project, per incident? How does it work?
It's based off of a retainer. It's basically like a lawyer, so after discussing what kind of surveillance or what the investigation would entail, I come up with a retainer agreement and a certain amount of hours. And I always keep the client's budget in mind. I don't want them going broke to prove anything through their divorce. So even if that's starting off with just like 8 hours of surveillance, but I also operate to make sure that it's smart. I'm not trying to burn their budget out on times where he probably is working, or she's working, It's like those missing hours. Like, when is he not home? When does it seem like there's a questionable time? That's when surveillance would be based, not just let's run a 10-hour surveillance on a Tuesday with no reason. There has to be justification for why the time starts when it does.
One of the most critical things is that we have to do a cost benefit analysis with our clients. So Megan hit the nail on the head. It's easy with lawyers involved and forensic accountants involved and private investigators involved, and you have your therapist involved, to go through a whole lot of money very quickly.
Right.
So what I do when clients come in for consultation is, we dissect the case, we triage the case, come up with a roadmap, and then we say, maybe this, not yet, maybe put 5 hours here, maybe hold off on this, because it's critical that clients say, you know what, as much as I would like to have that information, I absolutely cannot afford it. I have to put my money into tracing with the forensic accountant. I just don't have green dollars to be stretched that far. And it's so important for me that we do that, because while you're already kicked in the gut, now you're spending money you don't have. Now you're putting it on your credit card. You're just going to be digging yourself further
Right.
and further in the hole. So as an attorney, I feel it is my obligation to say to the clients, yes, this may be helpful, but it's not something that you can afford. And then we have to find other ways to skin the cat. But to Megan's point, absolutely. You don't tail somebody when you know that that's the day he goes to see his grandma or his
Right.
mother in the nursing home, because it's a set schedule. You have to be smart about it. Megan, I have a question for you. With today's world of all the rules and regulations about, being able to follow someone and putting a tracking device in a car that is entitled in your name and so on, what can you do when people say, can you stick a camera on the mailbox outside the house? What can you do other than actually following them that doesn't violate any criminal laws?
Stationary cameras are everything is case to case, I have to say, and there's a lot of gray areas. Like, I know tracking devices are that's always a huge question, and that's a big gray area here in New Jersey. So if you own the car, so say that there's people getting divorced and the car is in her name and he's operating the car, you could put the tracker on it because it's her car, so she's allowed to monitor her own car. So I can't just go run up to Furley and throw a tracker on her car for no good reason. That's totally illegal, and I would lose my license and everything. But there are people out there that would do that. But I think that's important. That's an important topic too, is just trusting the investigator, knowing that anything that they obtain is legal and can be admissible in court. That's a huge thing. I don't push the limits with that. If I'm not filming within somebody's living room, you can't film on the inside of somebody's house. So if I'm outside in the car taping them, I can't film straight through the window. But if they're out on the front porch or in their driveway, that's fair game. Or even in the garage with the garage door open, I could film them in there too. So, it's just
and it's critical what you're saying, that it's called fruit of the poisonous tree, right, in legal terms. So if you have something that you obtain via illegal means, then we can't use it ultimately if we end up going to court. So
right.
It's so important to work with an investigator, Megan, as you're saying, and you having the police force background is so important, because more so than others where to draw the line.
Yeah, I actually don't have a police background.
I thought that's what Furley was saying. Oh, okay.
Just criminal justice, though. Like,
criminal justice. Got it.
Yeah, okay. No, but it's important. It is very important. In a lot of PIs, we have a bad rap. We definitely do. You see the gimmicky ones on TV shows that are, climbing through windows and bushes and all of that. I mean, if we have to, I guess we would, but within legal, you have to remain within the law.
So
otherwise,
how has everything changed in the context of now these smartphones and these apps, right? You could do track my iPhone and find my phone, and there's all these things that pop up on Facebook almost daily with, it's like, do you want to see if your spouse is cheating, and then they lead you to these other websites, right? How has your job changed with the evolvement of technology?
Honestly, there's a lot of privacy issues with that stuff. So I can't gain access to somebody else's phone. And even the wife or the husband that's filing for divorce, they could even be held accountable for going into their spouse's phone. So that stuff doesn't really, that it's out there. And I guess I personally wouldn't go through somebody's phone or try to get that information, because again, I operate within the legal bounds. But, I think that everybody that thinks their husband or wife is cheating definitely goes through their phone. So that would be on them to get that information, screenshots, and take pictures
I guess
and
my
that sort of
question
thing.
is, has your profession been impacted negatively in that less people are reaching out to you to track
Yeah.
these cheating spouses because they're able to do their own investigative research just on the iCloud and sitting at home, and as you said, going through their phone, or all of that, right? Tracking their phone if they're on a family plan. It's amazing to me how many people don't even realize that their spouse is able to log in through
Right.
iCloud to every device in the house, and they're doing all sorts of crazy things, and they're wondering how they got caught.
Right. Yeah, no, there's definitely been a decline with all of the technology for infidelity cases. The cohabitation cases are different, but if we're just talking infidelity, there has been a decline because people can find that out on their own, with all of the technology and the dating apps and Facebook and everything. And with the iCloud.
My favorite cases is where a spouse that's obviously cheating or looking to cheat sets themselves up on dating websites, and then the wife's girlfriend who's single and dating says, "Oh, your husband's on the dating website." It's just people
Yeah.
are so
When you
ridiculous.
write on
The
your
choices
husband,
they make.
it's
Like, what
crazy.
right?
Yeah.
This is just out of curiosity. With photoshopping, it looks so real. Sometimes, like, I don't know. You don't look like the type who would Photoshop like a person together somewhere in an exotic island, whatever it may be. But how can people tell like real from photoshopped?
Like
Question.
Like,
so
for example, like it looks like they're together on a dream vacation, right? And then, okay, here are photos, but then again, it was Photoshop. But like to the naked, basically to an untrained eye, so to speak, it looks real, right?
right.
But how do you know from when you present that? Say, for example, like you have your staff, and say, for example, somebody in your staff is very good in technology. Could they do that? And then
Honestly, I've never encountered that, so I wouldn't be able to really say. The only thing I can say from my perspective as an investigator is that we make sure that we videotape everything. We don't just take photos.
Mm.
Photos are pulled off of the video because you could take a photo of somebody and it can look like something totally not what it is. I remember this one
I think
case.
that's what Furley's getting at. Yeah.
Yeah, so this one case I had in Atlantic City, it was like, like 3 girls, 3 guys, and the way that they were walking, it looked like his hand was like on her butt, and that was just through like a photo. But with the video, you can see that that's just how he was moving. So for me, it's very important to not only provide photos, but the actual video so that you get a storyline of what's occurring and things can't be altered or misconstrued in that sense.
Thank you, Carolina. Okay, say for somebody, obviously there's cost involved in hiring a private investigator, but in the same manner, while it is an expense, it could be a great way to leverage better outcome in a divorce. Yes.
Absolutely. We talked about the fact that it could help with a dissipation claim. We talked about the fact that it could help if somebody's saying that they're not working when they are. What we didn't talk about and where it could come into play is in custody battles, right? So if somebody is choosing to go out and leave their children unattended, or putting their children at risk, or exposing them to people that they shouldn't be exposing them to, especially during COVID, that information could be very beneficial to us. When COVID erupted and people were afraid of sending their kids to parenting time for various reasons, we had spouses lying about where they were, that they're not being exposed, that they're staying in their apartment, that they're not visiting friends. We had PIs catch those people in lies, which then led us to filing applications with the court, which led to protecting the children, potentially suspending parenting time. So in my opinion, it depends what's the issue. What are we going to gain by getting an unbiased, neutral professional such as Megan to come in? Will the report help us? And then do we have enough to try to settle versus is Megan now ready if we need to testify? But she is a critical player in pre-divorce, during divorce and post-divorce cases.
Megan, what questions do you ask your prospective clients when they consult with you?
I think first it's kind of like a venting session. So I just let them explain to me what exactly is going on, and then I just kind of narrow it down. But it really is the most important thing during that consultation is finding out the person's pattern. and then me dissecting it. And it's very important too for the client to listen to the investigator, and the lawyer, of course, too. But a lot of times I find that the clients are like, well, they believe him about certain things, but not other things. And it's like, well, why do you only believe him about that, but you don't believe him about this? So it's up to me really to use my expertise and my experience to dissect the case to make sure that we're doing it properly, because again, it is emotional. So I'm an outside source that's not emotionally involved. I mean, some cases, obviously they pull your heartstrings a little bit, but that's a very important thing. So, again, it's just like a venting session, but then I have to make sure that I use my expertise to dissect the case to make sure that, we're running it properly with figuring out a pattern.
Furley, one of the things that we do as part of Divorce Dynasty, as you know, is that if we have a woman that's coming in that's saying, oh my God.
Oh,
we just lost.
Oh, she's back.
Oh my God, I
we
can't
lost
believe
you.
this.
Okay, Carolina, we lost you for a quick second, so we did not.
Can you see me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you
Can you
start
hear me now?
over? Yeah.
Yeah. So what I was saying, Furley, is as you know this, when a woman comes in and says, I can't believe that this might be happening. I don't know what I'm going to do if I find out he's doing this. My entire life has been dedicated to him. Oh my God. We quickly connect them with a therapist on the Divorce Dynasty platform or some group of support, life coach, this or something, because we know that when you, Megan, come in with that report, she's going to crash. And when she crashes, she's not going to be in a position to now listen to what this means financially. What do we do next? What do we need to file? It's overwhelming. So sometimes we need to take a step back before we take a step forward. Your information to a big chunk of women that we work with is devastating. It's devastating and paralyzing. And that's what the Divorce Dynasty platform is all about. It's identifying which professionals complement each other as we bring certain people on. You are an instigator, if you will, right? You're going to instigate a potential problem that we then need to have people aligned to help take the bite out of it and then how to problem solve.
Okay. Carolina, you are also a family law attorney and like elder care and all that. Like, where would Megan's expertise in private investigation come into play in elder law?
I think that in what we call gray divorces, it's going to be people already divorced. It's when someone wants to have a motion filed to end alimony. So in other words, I was married to you for 30 years. I now have the shiny new wife, right? I've been paying you alimony and I don't want to pay you anymore. So I want to start accusing you, the former wife, of either you're making more money, so let me modify my alimony obligation, or as Megan said, there's a cohabitation issue. And, where she comes in is to educate those women, okay, about what they should and should not be doing, what the husband may or may not hire them for from a defensive perspective of what they could expect. Because I can tell you that there is a movement, and this is why alimony in New Jersey was modified. The second wife does not want the husband paying alimony to the first wife, logically, right? But the first wife's entitled to what she was entitled to. So I think that there's an educational component. Also, alimony laws change depending on where you fell in your agreement, and how cohabitation is defined in your agreement will be critical to how Megan approaches her investigation.
Absolutely.
So Furley, the education part of the Divorce Dynasty platform is where Megan could come in for people that are in that gray divorce world.
Megan, is it legal for you to say, for example, to go undercover in a nursing home where somebody could be abused, or is that a police kind of assignment?
I would say that that's legal. If I was hired to figure that out, yeah, and then set up, basically like nanny cams to see what's actually happening. I think that yeah, you can't. The thing is, you can't argue video footage. Video footage is so important, and it's what you need in any of these cases. You can't argue against it, really. That's what's happening is the video. So yeah, I don't think that would be illegal to do at all.
What is the coolest gadget available right now?
My favorite covert camera, it actually looks like a phone. I wish I had it next to me. But so here's my phone, right? So it films out the top it looks just like this, but it films out the top. So it's like if I'm in a bar or even if I'm walking, you can film and hold the phone like this.
Wow. So nobody thinks you're taping them because they
Exactly.
would want you to
I'm
do
not
it
like,
this way, right?
yeah, I'm not like that. I'm holding it normal, just walking or putting it down. I live down the shore, so it's like I could put it on a bench while somebody's on the beach with their lover or whatever, and just let it sit there and just let it roll.
Wow.
Very, very, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, if somebody would like to, okay, who does one see first, an attorney or a private investigator if they are contemplating on divorce?
I think you start with me. You have to start
Yeah.
with me so that we could talk through, does this make sense? What would I need? What would I want you to try to ascertain or obtain? Otherwise, you might be spending a whole lot of money on something that may not be helpful at all, upsetting yourself more, getting yourself into a frenzy, going on Google. Furley, I see all the time. Your divorce is not the time to start Googling, okay? Because you're going to end up in Arkansas with a different law. Forget it, right? So I think in tandem is what Megan and I do best. We sit down.
Right.
She calls me and says, I have a client. I call her and I say, I have a client. And we come up with a plan for that client.
Yeah. And I do the same thing. If somebody calls me just based off of seeing my website or something like that, I always ask, do you have an attorney? Are you represented? And if not, then I'll connect them to, my favorite attorneys to work for. So it's a team effort, and again, a lot of times, like from the experience that I've had, I don't necessarily follow through with the divorce after finding out certain information. And that's totally fine. And I think that people need to know that too, is like, if it helps you with your peace of mind to know one way or the other if the person is committing infidelity, then that's up to you, and I can get you the information that you need. But it is up to you what you decide to do. And I will be there for them regardless of whether they choose to stay and then call me 3 years later, because that happens too. He's still doing the same thing 3 years later. But, I try to help people the best that I can with like making them feel okay in their situation, and just know that, there's no judgments here. Whatever you decide to do is what you decide to do. And that's that, so.
Carolina, how do you decide which private investigator to send your clients to if they need it?
I think it really depends on, it's like the lawyer. It's like what Megan was saying, she'll send a client to me, then somebody else and somebody else. It all depends on personality. It depends on your geographic location.
Right.
It depends on how big the job is. If we need to follow somebody on a plane to Chicago, well, then it's got to be an investigative team that's able to do that, right? If we need to send somebody to follow somebody to Poland, that's another type of investigator. So it's very specific. There's not one size fits all for every person. And that's what makes the Divorce Dynasty platform so unique, in that Furley, we have different people, different backgrounds, ages, races, education, geographic region, price points, to help everyone who needs us.
Megan, what makes you different?
I have to say my appearance. I don't know, most of the time it's like, you're out and say when bars were open, you're talking to people and they're like, what do you do for a living? And a lot of times I'm like, I'm a teacher, because I just don't feel like going into it, but I do think it's my appearance. And I think that me starting, I just turned 39, but me starting when I was 25 years old doing this, it's kind of like, a private investigator, this is like this is like their retirement job. This is my career. I've been doing this since right out of college. So I think that also, makes me different too.
Oh, that's awesome. It makes me, this will give away my age, but I remember loving to read the books, Nancy Drew.
Yeah.
So awesome. Well, if they would like to learn more about you and your company and the services that you provide, do you have a website or like social media site that people can check you out on?
Yes. So we have Facebook and Instagram, and then of course LinkedIn. It's arkeopi.com is the website. So that's arkeopi.com. And then if you just, search on Facebook for Arkeo Investigations, it'll pop up.
Last words, Megan, and for Carolina. Megan first. Okay, last words.
Oh, last words. I think that, anybody that's going through a divorce, just make sure you have the proper support system, whether that's in your personal life and even professional, and make sure it's a cohesive team that works together, because you need people behind you that are supporting you in all aspects through that time.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you so much, Carolina.
Megan again hit the nail on the head. When you are going through a life transition, whether divorce or death of a spouse or disability of your spouse, and your life is changing both emotionally and financially, that is the time to have a support system. And Divorce Dynasty, a platform of vetted professionals, from the lawyer to the matchmaker to the wedding planner, love second time around, and everybody in between, is that team of people that you will need to take the angst, the agony, out of the uncertainty that you're going through, and help you prepare, protect, partner with the right people to prosper in your new life. So there it is.
Love that. Love the tagline of the Divorce Dynasty. So you can very well see we break the mold here at the Divorce Dynasty. We do so many different things, over and beyond what is expected. And this is what makes us unique and what helps us empower so many people out there, especially women, to basically shine in your light and embrace the brand new beginnings that you deserve. Right? Well, until next time, this is Furley Almonte on behalf of Carolina Denhard and our amazing guest, Megan Novak of RKO Private Investigations. I hope that you learned a lot today, and I hope that you will reach out to, Carolina and her group so that you can get better direction on where to go to in your life if you're contemplating on divorce. And of course, Megan will be there if you ever need her. Thank you also very much and enjoy the weekend. Take care and stay well
Thank
and stay
you.
happy. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.